I guess you are well. Okay, so time is up. Let's start. We're going to concentrate on the literature review. Okay, so the concentration is on literature review. So here, I'm going to use some articles that I gave to you last time. We are just using it as a guide, or we are using them as a guide, but they don't also mean they are the only articles that can be used. You can also refer to other articles too, but as far as this work is concerned, we are using these articles as a guide. Okay, so let's come to the literature review. So the first part, you need to talk about the key concepts. The key concepts. The same as I presented to you the last time. Okay, let's take this topic. So if you look at the topic says innovative green construction adoption in Ghana. Innovative green construction. So some of the key terms here include the word what? Innovative, the word like innovation or innovative, green construction. So these are the things: innovation, green construction, and these are two key terms in the topic. So when you come to the user review section, you need to explain what is the meaning of innovative. So first example, can anybody give me your topic, Isaac? What's your topic?
Barriers to sustainable agribusiness, Doc.
Okay, so you need to explain sustainable agribusiness. So you explain that using existing studies. You explain what the meaning of innovative agribusiness is, and other variables or the other things that can help us to understand what the concept is about. So here, if you look at the topic, it's innovative green construction. So they have explained green innovation, green construction. They have explained it. I will not get time to be able to read everything. So you have to read. I'm just helping you out. Then they even went ahead to explain the role of architects in green construction innovation. So when you go back to the topic again, it says innovative green construction adoption in Ghana, architect's perspective. So their focus was on architects, right? So they went ahead to even explain the role of architect in green construction. So in your topic to look for something, if your work is about maybe moderating something, mediating something, explain maybe the role of stakeholders. You need to explain. Okay, good. Once that is done, there are two things that can be done after you have explained the key concepts or the key issues in there. So here they have explained that, saying that this person said this, that person said that, and all that. Once you have done that, the next thing to do is that you need to find out whether you can come up with what we call conceptual framework. So you can establish a conceptual framework. So here, if I am the one who is going about this, I'll draw a diagram linking green innovation and green construction, and then also the role of the architects. I'll put all of them together. Now, the next thing is that if you have theories, if your work is based on a theory, then what you have to do is that you need to go ahead and explain the theories. You have to explain the theories. The reason why I'm saying if your work is based on theories is that it's not every study that you need theories or we need theories to explain them. Some of the studies, once you complete the conceptual framework, once you finish explaining the concept, you can just link them up and then you go ahead to put out your hypothesis, and that's the end of it. But if your work has an aspect of it which there is an established theory or theories on it, you have to go ahead and explain that. So here, for example, their study is based on the theory of plant behavior. There's an established theory. So they explain it and they drew the diagram. So this diagram is an example of what we call theoretical framework. This is not conceptual framework. The reason why it's not a conceptual framework is that this one is not linking the concept that we have explained, but rather it's rather showing an established theory. An established theory which is backing the study. So if you want to check this one up, you can just Google what the theory of plant behavior is. If you just do a Google search, you will see that this is how the theory of plant behavior look like. Okay, so they took that and they did a few or a bit of modification. Or actually, they presented the same. Then, yeah, so this is an example of this is not a conceptual framework, this is a theoretical framework. Why? Because this diagram is backed by a theory, and the theory is a theory of plant behavior. That has been explained here. Is that okay? Good. So the theory of plant behavior, in this case, in your case, based on your theory, you do the same. But when you are explaining, you have to explain it and link it to your work. Don't make it detached from your work. The same thing here. Okay. So that's what I was talking about. Out of the theory, you build a theoretical framework, and that's the diagram. Okay, what next? Whether your work is a conceptual framework or a theoretical framework, at the end of the day, there's something that you have to do. And that thing is you have to come up with what we call hypothesis. Hypothesis, because in structural regression modeling, that's what we test. You test the hypothesis. Okay, so you test the hypothesis. So whether your work, you have designed a theoretical framework, just like what in this study they have done, based on established theory, or your work is based on a conceptual framework. If there's no established theory, but you try to just link the concepts. Any of them, whether it's conceptual or theoretical framework, you still have to end up putting out what we call hypothesis. So what are hypotheses? So hypotheses are just claims that link the concepts, the variables together. And out of that claim, you test whether the claim that you have made or you are making, they are so or they are not. They are exactly what you are saying they are, or they are not, or something else. So for example, here, based on the this one, the hypothesis that they have formulated is based on the theoretical framework. So they are saying that knowledge has a positive influence on behavioral belief of architect towards the adoption of RGC. So when you go back to the theoretical framework, this framework, the relationship. So you can make a claim that attitude has impact on intention, and intention has impact on behavior. In that case, we get two hypotheses there. Another hypothesis is that subjective norm has impact on intention, and then intention has impact on behavior. Another claim that you can make is that perceived behavioral control has impact on intention, and intention has impact on behavior. Or you can make a direct claim by saying that perceived behavioral control has impact on behavior. So these are hypotheses. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And probably if you have other things, you can also put them. They came up with 10. They came up with variant and they added some control variables. Yeah, so if you make a claim, if you make a claim, so the claim, what kind of claim? So I want to just explain it to you. So you can make a positive claim, you can make a negative claim, and then you can make a neutral claim. Personally, I will suggest that you always have to make a neutral claim. When I say neutral claim, you don't say something has positive or negative impact on something. You just say something has influence, like this, the last hypothesis here. Behavioral intention have influence. As to the influence, whether it's positive or negative, we don't know, so it's neutral. And to me, that's the best. I mean, per my experience. Okay, because in cases where you make a positive or negative claim on something, in many cases, it turns out to be something else than what you are looking for. But when you make a neutral claim that so and so has impact on something, it gives you that flexibility and the space to get the answer that you want when you run the PLSM. Okay. Any other thing? Yeah. Okay. So the next thing is that, great. So this is what when you make the claim, or when you put a variable that this one, there's something that I think, not I think, but it's missing. If I am the reviewer, I'll question them. Probably they put them there as control variable, like the word like knowledge, normative belief. They are not in the model. Attitude is there. Intentions are behavioral intentions are there. Perceived behavioral control is there. Yeah, but knowledge and code, they are not in the model. So if I am the person who is examining like subjective norm, they usually measure subjective norms. If I'm the one who is examining these people, I'll question them. Yeah, because normally whatever you put in your diagram, in your model, there are the things that you have to measure, and then there are the things that you have to come up with what? With the hypothesis. Yeah. But anyway, that's okay. It's for our learning. So the next thing that you have to do is you have to measure. Great. So we call this one, we call this table the measurement table. How do you measure and operationalize the variables in your theoretical framework? So for example, if you take the Let me take one of them. The perceived behavioral control. Let's go back to the diagram. This one, perceived behavioral control. Can you see that? The one, the box here. How did they measure it? When we say measure, we are trying to look at, like, measurement is not anything like maybe you are going to measure like a tape measure, like you have a cloth and you are going to use a tape measure to measure it. That's not what we mean by measurement. What we mean is, like, what are you using to represent that thing? That's what we call measurement as far as this thing is concerned. So measurement is not like maybe something weird, something. So out of your concept, out of your theoretical framework, out of your conceptual framework, each of the variables, the latent variables, what are you using to measure them? Or what are you using to measure it? Today, I want to take you through this. Okay, I'll do the other one too for you to see. I want to take you through this, especially for those who are using theories, who are using theoretical framework. Then I'll take you back to those who don't have established theories and they have not categorized their variables into this. How do they go about it? Or how do you go about it? Okay, so let's take the perceived behavioral control. One, I have enough opportunities to adopt or opt for IGC. Two, I have the necessary resources to practice IGC. I engage in IGC. So these things, these three items are being used to measure. Measure means we are using to represent. So anytime you mention perceived behavioral control, it means one, I have enough opportunities to adopt or opt for IGC. I have the necessary resources to practice IGC. I engage in IGC during construction. Okay. The question that somebody will ask is, where do you get this measurement from? Can you make them up? The answer is yes, you can make them up. I mean, when I say make them up, but not like you just make them up, but you are making up should be based on some papers that you have read. Or if you remember the other time, I mentioned to some of you that, let me check. I mentioned to some of you that you can adopt, when we're dealing with the questionnaire, I told you you can what? You can adopt it from someone who has done a similar thing. So let's take this one. So imagine you want to design a questionnaire. Imagine you want to design a questionnaire. You can just look up to this. You can look up to this questionnaire, which was designed by another person or another scholar in another school somewhere. You can just look up to this, and then, for example, I'm just going to give you an example. Yeah, so let's take something like perceived behavioral control. So this is what they use to measure it. I am confident that I can exercise for at least 20 minutes, 3 times per week for the next 3 months. So that's what they use. That's one of them. And then 2, my exercising for at least 20 minutes, 3 times a week for the next 3 months is up to me. So these 2 things, or these 2 items, were used to represent perceived behavioral control in this study. Now let's look at intention. Intention, they use 1 item. I intend to exercise for at least 20 minutes and all that. Past behavioral. Okay, so I mean, when you are adopting something from another person, try to get it from something which is related to your area of research. Because, for example, this this questionnaire is more or is related to, I think, somebody exercising or somebody going to the gym. It has to do with bodily or physical exercise. Okay, so look for, if I'm going to do it, look for maybe if your study is about finance, if your study is about construction management, if your study is about health or something, look for somebody who has applied theory of planned behavior. Let's say in construction management. So look for something, should be somehow related, not something entirely detached. Because these measurements, they are too detached from what you are studying. So look for one. Let's see that I can get something from here. So if you are going to adapt, I'm talking about if you are adapting, if you are trying to take another studies measurement item, we call them measurement items. What you have to do is that I suggest you go for similar ones which are related to your study. I'm just looking at where they put your questionnaire. Don't pick questionnaires which are entirely different. Totally, they have nothing to do with what you are studying, and they are so far away from your work. I mean, it's going to be difficult. So this is their source of contract and items. Yeah, so this is what I'm talking about. Can you see? So for example, if you take subjective norms, this is what they use to represent subjective norms. Cooperation with subcontractors in conforming to the law, subcontractors, and so and so. Perceived behavioral control, they use 5 items. Subjective norm, 5 items. Past experiences, 4 items. And then they introduce additional variables like long-term cooperation, 3 items. Alternatives towards the behavior, another 5 items. I hope you get it. So if you're going to adopt, just look for something which is within your area. Even this is not, this will not or is not related to your study, but you can pick something from here. Another approach is for you to come up with your measurement items or measuring items from the scratch, and that you can look up to existing studies to do it. The only good thing is that when you adopt and adapt, depending on how you want to. Adopt is normally when you take 100%. Adapt is when you take it and modify it. Adapt. So take note of the words. Adopt is 100%. You take everything 100%. Like this one, you copy the same thing and put it in your work. That is called adopt. So if you take the variable and then you say that it is being represented by, or these items are measuring, these things are measured by this. That's adoption. And then we have adaptation. Adaptation is where you pick the measurement items from another study and you make changes to suit your work, which all of you have already done, because it's exactly the things in your questionnaire, the questionnaire that you have distributed or you have put out there. Okay. And then what again? So yeah, that's what we do. And yes, so measurement item. So everyone try to, if you want to measure this, just go back to your questionnaire. It's not something that you have to panic. But there's another one that I'm going to show you. Those of you who don't have theories, specific theories that your study is based on, I'm going to show you how to go about that. Okay, so this is for those who already have theories and you have already categorized your sections. For those people, it's good you show this table. Okay, then you also show the source. The source represents where did you get the information from to put these measurement items. Where? Where did you get this information from to put together these items? Okay, so you need to show the source, or the source means reference. Kofi, are you okay with this? Fi Eligwe. Eligwe. What about Isaac? Is Kofi here?
Yes, Doc. I'm here.
Okay, what about Isaac? Is it okay? Is it clear?
Yes, dog. I'm here. Yeah. I'm
No, is it clear? Is this explanation clear? Is this something that you can do? Or you have a question?
um. I'll be glad if you go over a little bit. I think that'll be fine for me. Yeah.
Which section, which part?
See
Like, I mean,
the
which of
table
them?
part, categorizing the using the questionnaire. You talked about we are supposed to cite the shots we got all the questionnaires from, right?
Where the
So I want
questionnaires?
yes. Right. You said when we were developing the questionnaires, there are some articles we read that help us to develop those questionnaires, right?
Yeah.
So it's like
You are not
yeah, in
supposed
the
to cite everything, but some
oh,
of
okay,
them, the relevant ones. For example, here, as you can see, they put three or two. So I'm not expecting you that in this table you have to cite all the papers that you have read. At least there should be about 2, 3, 4 relevant papers to show that you read something, and that's how come you came up with these variables. That's what it's
okay,
saying. It doesn't mean you have to put. I know, or we all know, you will read so many articles, but
yeah,
try to put the relevant ones, maybe 2 or 3, okay, in this table to show, so that anybody who is going to examine your paper or review your paper will know that you have read something. And that's the reason why we put a source here.
all right,
Other than that, you
okay,
can
thank
just
you.
come up with the measurement items and go your way. But it is always good to put some references there so that the person who is reviewing your work will see that you read something. And that's how come you have this there.
Thank you very much, Doc. I think that's okay.
You're welcome. Let me go to another person. Dennis, what about you? Is it clear?
Yeah, Doc.
Yeah.
Yes. My. Okay. Yes, Doc.
Please go ahead. Yeah.
Hello, Doc. Okay.
Yes, I can hear you talk.
So Okay. Please the hypothesis part. Me, for
Mm-hmm.
instance, I'm using the VBN theory, the value
The
believe norm
VBA
theory.
theory. Okay. Mm,
Yeah. So
okay.
and my questionnaires are there. For example, I have a question like, I believe wetlands promotes community well-being or individual well-being. Eh.
Okay.
So is it a question like that that is going to be the hypothesis?
No, that's not the hypothesis. That question or that statement is what we call the measurement item.
Okay.
Okay. So the community well-being, for example, how many, in your case, have you already categorized the items? When I say categorization, have you grouped them? Like, are they in groups like this? You know, when I say groups, if you take this, we have knowledge, we have behavioral belief, these ones, they are the ones called groups. So like knowledge, under knowledge we have 1, 2, 3, 4 items. Under behavioral belief in this table we have 3 items. Under normative belief we have 2 items. So have you already categorized that in your questionnaire? If not,
Yes, please. Okay. So
yours you have already categorized.
The questionnaire. When I read the theory says there is this value, and under value there is egoistic, altruistic, and one other. So the questionnaire has egoistic, like measurement items or questions under egoistic, altruistic, measurement items or under that one too.
Exactly. Great. Yeah, so those items or those questions or statements will become what we call the measurement items.
Okay.
So you are doing the right thing, but they are not the hypothesis. The hypothesis, you established by the hypothesis by linking the main groups. So the main groups, as you mentioned when you read the theory says is it altruistic or egoistic, something. When you try to establish the relationship between the egoistic variable and then the altruistic variable, then you get what we call hypothesis. So hypothesis simply is like a linkage, a relationship. The word hypothesis is just like trying to establish a relationship. For example, I have a relationship with Kofi. I have a relationship with so and so, with Akomea. I have a relationship with my mother. I have a relationship with my father. But the question then comes to, what kind of relationship do you have? Is it a positive relationship or negative relationship? Because you can have a relationship with someone and it may be a negative relationship or it may be a positive relationship. But I mentioned that in order to put that one out there, personally, I prefer you make it neutral, because normally if you have not run the data, it is hard to know whether the relationship is positive or negative. After you have run the data will tell you, after do the analysis, it will tell you whether the relationship that exists between you and your mother, for example, is a positive relationship or is a negative relationship.
Okay.
But I understand that people try to put a certain relationship out there before they start. Okay, so I think this paper I missed something which I need to make a correction quickly. I didn't see that they put, okay, so they modified the initial model, which I think that's the right thing that they did, because initially I criticized this paper by saying that they didn't put certain things in this model, right? But I can see down there that they have modified it. So this one is the general theory of plant behavior diagram. But linking it to their work, they have modified it. So when you come down, you can see that there after the table. Yeah, so they modified it. They modified it to show this. So I mean, this one, they are right. I mean, they did the right thing. So I criticize them, but I need to.
Okay, so Doc, please, so if I understand, I want to make some. When I was reading it, it says that there is a value. So the value will make the person have some belief about the environment. And when the belief comes, and the belief will bring norm, and the norm will birth a behavior.
Okay.
So if I'm establishing a hypothesis, for instance, then maybe I will be like a person's positive, let's say, belief towards the environment. I don't know how to put it.
Yeah, you are right.
If a person have a positive belief about the environment, then maybe it will lead to a norm. Then that will lead to a behavior, something like that.
To me, it would be good you say if the persons have positive, if a person has a belief in the environment or something, it will influence. Use the word influence. The word influence, as to the influence, whether it's a positive influence or negative influence, will be determined by your analysis.
Okay.
Influence, facilitate, has a relationship. Use those terms instead of being, should I say, blank or being too sure, 100%. Because being 100% sure is you may not be that right when you go to the analysis. But once again, I'm not saying it cannot be done. I mean, the studies have done this over and over again. You can say it's positive or negative. The stand is allowed. Many studies do that, but personally, I prefer that. And I also know many studies do that. I prefer to just use the term influence, facilitate, examine, and then later on, I will determine whether the influence or examination or facilitation, whether they are positive or negative. I will know that later after my analysis.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I think this is established. I mean, this is explained. Thank you. Let me go to another person. Kofi Owusu. Please, do you understand what we have done? I want everybody to get this. I mean, I want to just know whether you are okay. Is Kofi Owusu here? Hello, Kofi Owusu. He's not online. Okay. Any other person who is online? In Windio, do you understand what has been explained? Is in Windio here? Asleep? Kofi Owusu. Okay.
Hello, Doc.
Yeah. Do you guys understand what we have just done?
Hello, Doc.
Yes. Please talk. Yeah,
Hello,
I can
Doc.
hear from you. Yes, talk. Please talk. You can talk.
I'm not able to understand because my
Is that?
network is so bad.
Okay. The network is bad. Okay. But do you understand what we have done? I mean, what I've explained. Are you okay?
No, please. But if I could
So
get the
what's your
recording
question?
out.
No, I mean, you need to ask questions here because the recording, I've come to notice some of you, either you are not watching or you are not following what I'm doing, because based on the kind of work I receive from some of you, it's completely different from what I've been teaching. So it's good in class. I get to know whether you understand what is being taught or not. So if you have not been following, what I would advise you do is you just follow. Let's follow carefully, because I know many of you after this meeting, you not even watch the video. And then two, you don't have time to follow some of the videos that I have even recorded already. So I just want to make sure everybody, at least you understand. And if you have a question, you ask me. Samuel Akon, please, do you understand what has been done today? Are you okay?
Yes, but I wanted to seek clarification.
Yeah, you can
So
ask.
you see the one that you showed where it had like sentences that had similar um, meaning or something like that. So with that one, let's say when I'm writing the literature review, let's say in all the papers that I'll read, does it mean that I would have to identify things like that and then maybe write it somewhere so that when I know that it's similar, I can get a reference for that in terms of me writing my literary review? Yes, please. Yes, please.
Yeah. Ask your question again, please. Yes, Sammy. Please ask your question again. Can you hear from me? I think he has left. Okay.
Hello.
Yeah, please ask your question again. Yes, ask your question again. Go ahead. Yes, Sammy, please go ahead. Talk. Samuel, please talk. Can you hear from me? We can hear from you. So you talk.
Hello.
Yes, please go ahead. Talk.
Okay, so yeah. So I was asking with respect to the measurements table. So I
Okay.
realized that you had some sentences that were similar. Okay, so let's say I'm trying to draft my literature review. So with all the research papers that I'm going to read, when I see something that it's related, I can write all those things down and then maybe get a reference for that particular statement that kind of relates to whatever I got for the first, let's say, research paper I read. That's my question.
Yes, you can do that. So when you read papers and you extract the statement, you can put down where you got the statements from. Okay. Not to confuse you, but if you look at some of my earlier publications, I mean, if you look at some of my earlier publications, like the one I published like last year, for example, if you take this study, I just want to show you what's there. This is the one. If you take this paper, for example, you can see that each of the statement, I had a reference for it. Like if you go through this paper, even some of them I had two references representing them. So if you take the first one, CSF one, it has two references. Some of them had one, some of them even have had three references representing what that statement or that variable is. Okay, so the same thing, but in doing your or coming up with your measurement items, I suggest you don't put too many references. You don't put too many references because in many cases, some of the variables that you use for your measurement items, you adopt them or you take them from someone study. Maybe out of the four, you take 2 out of 1 study. Out of the 5, you have taken 4 from another person's study. In that case, it is not advisable to use it's not advisable to use different variable different sources. It's not advisable. I will not advise you to do it. So according to this study, they took these 4 items, they got them from these 3 studies. But if yours, in your case, you got each of them from different study, and you want to show all the reference, it's also allowed. There's no limit to the number of papers that you can cite here. But it's just an advice that don't cite too many. 2, 3, maximum 4 is okay. But it's up to you. If you want to go ahead and show about 10 articles, that's okay. 6 articles, whatever, it's okay. So I hope you are okay with this.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Yes, please.
You're welcome. Is there any other person who need explanation? I think at this point we are all good to go, right? Okay, so what about if your study is not based on theory? The idea is the same. It's the same, especially those of you who you have not categorized your variables yet. I'm talking about the statement that you have put in your questionnaire. If I am undertaking a study, and that study, if I'm undertaking a study, can you hear from me?
Yes, Doc.
If I'm undertaking a study, and that study showcase, let me take an example. So I'm going to use my, let me use this is the internet is so if I, so let's take this is not working. Okay, so here the variables are all categorized. They are all grouped already, right? I mean, based on the thing we have grouped them, and this will make it easier for us to test. But what about a situation where none of the variables have already been grouped? None of the variables have been grouped. How do you go about it? I don't know why this is taking a longer time to open. Sorry, the internet is not working properly. Yeah, so if you have a situation where they have not been grouped, now what I recommend you do is you work backwards. And when I say work backwards, once you get the data, and you run the analysis. If the group, if the variables have never been categorized, what you have to do is that you can run what we call exploratory factor analysis. You run exploratory factor analysis to categorize the variables. But then I think in this case, I was like, okay, I have already done, I did that. I categorized. But in a situation where the variables have never been categorized, you don't have measurement items, and we are starting from the scratch. And you have something like this. You have something like this. Let's say you have these, you have 23 variables. They have never been grouped. Raw 23 variables. You have never grouped them. There's no categorization. What do? The first step is you run what we call exploratory factor analysis. So when you go down, I'm going to show you. So using SPSS, you will run exploratory factor analysis. This one. And the exploratory factor analysis will help in categorizing, in grouping the variables. So here, the groups are microeconomic factors, eco-friendly, based on the SPSS grouping. And from the grouping, then you go ahead to undertake. Actually, that's what the examiner or the reviewer of this paper wanted me to do, or asked me to do, and I did it. Right? Exploratory factor analysis. Exploratory factor analysis. You undertake the exploratory factor analysis, and based on that, you get the groupings. So now the groups are here. And based on the groups, you go ahead to test the relationship between them. By first, you do a confirmatory factor analysis. Then the other PLS thing will come in. Okay, so those of you who don't have any categorization, you can still do it. Those of you whose study is in such a way that all the variables are together, there's nothing showing which one is, this one belongs to this group, that one belongs to that group, and all that. Don't worry about that. We will still get the measurement items once we run the exploratory factor analysis. Okay, we'll run exploratory factor analysis to get the measurement items. Once again, as I explain it to you, the word measurement items is not anything. It is not anything that you should be worried about. They are just statements or questions explaining a variable. Simple. That's what we call the measurement. Like, not like measurement like is a measurement scale. If you hear the word, you may think it's a measurement scale, like maybe something like ratio or interval or tape measure, or it's a thermometer. No, that's not what it means. What it means is a measurement item is something, is an indicator, is a statement, is a phrase explaining each of the variables. Okay, so here, if you take this one, if you take knowledge, they use 4 statements to explain what knowledge is in this study. So the 4 statements here in the second column becomes the measurement items for knowledge. If you take behavioral belief, they use 3 statements. The 3 statements become the measurement items for behavioral belief. If you take normative belief, they use 2 items. So the 2 items become what? So that's how things work. Yeah. On that note, we bring the meeting to an end. We will continue next week. So please, everybody, start writing. I mean, those of you, I know all of you have started writing, but keep on writing. I'll say keep on writing. And if you have a question, get in touch with me. So I'm pleading with everybody, write, just write. Right. Okay. And I know some of you were having exams. Kofi, is the exams over in UST?
No, yeah, we are done with the written one. Tomorrow is the final exam. So
Okay. 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 I think from this week going, many of you will be available. So do your best to join. I'll go over it again next week because we have two more meetings or 2 more weeks to cover the literature review. Because after the next 2 weeks, or once the 2 weeks expire, I will now move on to methodology. The reason why you need to understand what we are doing right now, what I'm teaching you right now, is that this will inform your methodology, because the measurements, items, and all these things that we are discussing, they are exactly the same thing that we are going to see when we move on to the methodology section. They are the things that we explain. So they are not going to be new. That's why I want people to be here. Even if you are not writing, be here, listen, ask questions. The most important thing is understanding. That's my concern. Many people are not here. And some of them, know that they are not only here, they are also not watching the videos. Okay, so they are not getting the understanding, because if you look at the work that some of you send, you can clearly see that what we have done, the person didn't understand. So I just want you to be here. Anytime you come here, just pay attention, listen, get the understanding. Even if you have not written anything, understand it. What does this mean? Get that. Once you get that, it's okay. So it's the same thing that we will push to the research methodology. So from literature review, we move on to research methodology. We will see almost the same thing that we have explained to you. And I teach you the items, the sample size, the analysis method, and then we end by running the data. So it's step by step. Step by step. So those of you who are a little bit confused, please go back and watch the videos. I'm pleading with you. Even with the introduction, I saw similar things. Upon all the things I took you through and I explained the introduction to you, some of you still, like I saw some of you have not understood the introduction. For example, yesterday, it's just an example that I want to show some of you. Yesterday, Sharon submitted her introduction, and it was very impressive. I mean, many of you have done the same. I'm not really praising her, but many of you have done the same. And her introduction was very impressive. Why? Because she just went step by step according to what we did in class. She followed everything like this, that. When you are reading, or when you read it, you can see that this person has really followed what we have done in class. So do the same. The good thing is the videos are online. Go and pick them. Go and check them. Go and just spend some time on them and watch them. Once you watch them, you get what we are doing. Okay, because research is a process. That's why it's a scientific work, kind of like it's a scientific exercise. A step-by-step thing. It follows procedural, methodological process. And if you don't go by the steps, if you don't follow what is being done, you are likely to miss what will come after what you have missed. So try. We are still not there yet, because once we get into the methodology, and into the analysis. By that time, if you didn't understand introduction, you didn't understand literature review, you are going to have a big impact on how you understand the data analysis and even the discussion. So please go back. Those of you who are a little bit struggling or you don't even understand what this whole thing is about, just go and watch the videos carefully. Just take your time, watch them carefully. Listen, get to know what we have done, and then you move on. And also don't forget, this is not only good for only, I mean, this thing that we are doing is not only for this, it's not good for the paper that we are writing. Remember, it's good for your future paper writing. Like if you want to draft a paper, if you want to write a paper, it's good for you. And those of you who are also writing your thesis, the same. It's good for you. It's better you understand. It's better you strive to get the understanding of what this whole thing is about than just to go through it and put something there. Okay, on that note, just a small advice. On that note, I bring the meeting to an end and see you again next week. We meet again, go really next week. So Kofi is here, Isaac is here. Who again was here? Janice. And then Dio is here. Theosu is here. Is there anyone here who has dropped out? Isaac. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Seems these are the only people who are here, right? A few.
Some people came and dropped out. Just that the names I couldn't keep them.
Okay, yeah. So thank you. The time is up. I'll see you all again next week. Next week, I will spend time on those who don't have theory. So today we have done those who have theories in their work. Next week we'll look at those who don't have theories. How do you go about categorizing your variables and also putting out the measurement items? Okay. So I wish you all the best. And if you can get your literature review to me based on the time or based on the time that I put on the page, that would be great. On that note, thank you and have a good weekend. God bless. Bye.